Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Well, today's project comes from the heart. One of my employees' mom, about 10 years ago, was hit by a drunk driver while driving her car, and since it's left her permanently handicapped. Her only source of getting around now is with a walker, a wheelchair, or a mobility cart. So my employee asked if there was any way that I could make him a hitch-mounted rack that would be able to tote the mobility cart, and he'd be able to take his mom to the grocery store shopping, run some errands or whatever, and when the cart was off the rack would be able to fold up out of the way. And I thought that's a great idea. We got online and we were first going to purchase something like that, but most of the carts are much bigger than what we actually need. So we decided it's best that I custom make something just for the cart that they have, with its own rack, its own ramp, and everything would fold up out of the way, and it'd be a good deal. So that's today's project. But before we get started, the first thing we got to do is get a hitch put on the Ford F-150. So let's get started. Okay, so we're getting ready to install this this trailer hitch on the back of this 2010 Ford F-150. Now there's a really great video online on the installation on this particular model truck right here. They make it really simple. So we're going to go ahead and get that installed right now. Let's do it.
And simple it really was. It was just 4 bolts that bolted to the existing chassis itself. And what I like about this hitch right here is the way it tucks up underneath the bumper, and looks really nice that way. You see other hitches that are lower and you can see them, but we went ahead and just installed it and tightened the bolts with the torque wrench to the recommendations from the manufacturer, and there it was, complete.
Okay, well there it is, the hitch is installed. That took a total of about 10 minutes to put this on. That video online provides really good instruction how to install this F-150, this 2010 I should say, F-150. Worked out absolutely perfect. Now that that's complete, let's get started on the ramp.
All right, so we're getting started here with the basic frame. This actually is the tongue part that will be going into the receiver. I'm going to be running this one through the center of the, I want to call it the hauler, I guess, if you will, or the carrier. Now this is 2-inch square tube, 1/4 inch thick wall, 0.25. And I'm just drilling the pinholes in here right now with the mag drill. I think it works out awesome. That's another tool in the shop that I don't know how I ever did without. But once I got the holes drilled, just deburred everything and started working on the frame now itself. Now, I went to 063, 2-inch square tube 063 for the frame. Yeah, I'm trying to take weight into consideration here, yet strength. This is fairly lightweight material, and you know, there's going to be a lot to it, so I'm trying to keep the weight down as much as I can. So here we are, just assembling this thing. Again, I got the Yoast corner vise in there. That tool in itself is a lifesaver. I use it almost all the time when I have 90-degree bends or T-joints. It lines them up absolutely perfect. You don't even need to bother with a square or square it. When it comes out, it's perfectly square. It holds everything in place really nice. So anyways, they're just going around getting the 3 sides on here. I should say 4. You can see there's a cut right there in the center, and that's where I'm going to be running that 1/4 inch right through there and getting everything lined up. Now I'm pretty certain that the weight of the cart itself is just over 100 pounds, so I'm not too terribly worried about this not being strong enough. That's for sure. Once I got everything where I needed it and where I wanted it, I just went ahead and just started welding all the joints out. Everything so far is going pretty good. You can see I'm stitch welding a little bit right there. This 063 is pretty thin material and it burns through really easy. I found that even with the amps down, I'm down to, I think I was down to like 16 volts and about 150 on the wire feed speed. And still, if your gaps aren't perfectly tight together, sometimes still has a tendency to want to burn through. So I just took my time, went all the way around it. Doesn't matter. They're all going to get ground off anyway. But I just wanted to ensure I had some good penetration, some good solid connection with the welds. And a lot of those welds I was able to definitely weld straight through. The ones on the inside, you know, those are always easy. These ones right here, these are always nice and smooth, and this never seem to have any problem burning through these at all. And that worked out pretty good. And then once I got everything done, then I just took my flap disc and went around and smoothed everything out as best I can. I want it to look good. I didn't want to have any exposed welds anywhere. So we're moving along here pretty good, and I'm liking the way things are turning out so far. Again, this is just something that, you know, I build as I go, once again, taking the measurements and just kind of hoping it's working in my mind the way it should. Now I thought about this. This right here is the frame itself that's going to sit on top of the frame, if you will. And I've got this. It's 1 inch by 2 inch rectangular tubing, and you can see that. You'll see what's happening here. I'm making a frame here that's going to sit on top of that frame, and then that's where the cart itself is going to sit on top. But I'm making a slot so the ramp would be able to fit inside, and everything's going to be nice and clean. I'm kind of hoping it works that way. You can see there's the frame right there. Once I got everything lined up, I tacked it into position. Now this is only on 3 sides. You can see that's open in the back there. That's what I'm going to be using to load the ramp in. You know, I'm just kind of hoping everything works out pretty good. Just some stitch welding here with this thing all the way around. I didn't want to weld it solid all the way around. I was afraid of warpage, and I didn't think it was necessary. This thing's not going anywhere. So I went ahead and just did that all the way around, and that looked good, and I'm sure it's going to work good. Try to get the welds as even as I can, you know, so appearance-wise, you know, it's not too bad. And again, this is the cross braces that are going across to give it some support on the inside. I just didn't want to. I wanted to be sure that it had plenty of support, but yet I'm still taking, you know, weight into consideration here. It just seems like it was getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I just didn't want it to be something that was just too heavy. It was ridiculous. But I was able to keep this right at about 110 pounds complete when it was over. And not too bad. I think it was about 10 pounds more than what the one online was. So that wasn't too bad. And here I'm just working on the back part of it where the ramp is going to be sliding in. Trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to hook this on, how well it's going to look, and how well it's actually going to work. These are just spacers that I'm welding on that's going to allow for the angle iron that's going to be on the ramp that's going to hook on and actually hold it in place. And then when we're not using it, you just lift it off and slide it into its respective spot. That's my game plan. That's the way I'm hoping it's going to work. So. Again, a build as I go type of thing right here. So far, it's looking like it's going to be okay. There I am, just welding the cross members in place, complete after I got everything where I wanted it to be. Grinding everything flat. Just using a flap disc, and you know, I get a lot of people ask me, what type of wheels do you use? I use benchmark abrasives. You know, I've gone through all kinds of different wheels, and you buy them online, you get them everywhere, and they all work okay, but the best ones for me, I like the best, are benchmark abrasives. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just found that they are, in my opinion, the better ones. So this is the ramp itself here. This is made out of 1 inch square tube. This is I believe this is 0.95 thickness, so I wanted it to be stiff enough but not flexible enough, and not, you know, too thick. I think this is the perfect thickness here. It worked really good. So once I got everything nice and square and got it all welded up, I just ground down those welds, and that's going to be important here because I need to be able to slide this thing in, and I've only given myself an inch and a quarter. I gave myself a little bit of room there for this thing to slide in. So just the final touches, notching everything out, you know, and using my portaband. You know, again, just a tool that's I never thought I'd use as much as I do, and it gets used daily in the shop. You just don't realize if you've never had one how crucial they can be, and how they make your job much easier. Okay, so I'm welding this thing on right here, and I gotta tell you, you don't see it, but it took me 2 or 3 times to get the angle just right, the way I wanted it. This is the first one right here. I put it on, and you can see how the ramp slides right in, looks nice and concealed, works good, and it comes out, and then it just comes up and hooks right on that angle. And you can see it looks good from there and everything, but it just doesn't have enough fall to it, and I fixed that later on after a couple of different attempts. But anyways, liking the way things are going so far. These are the side rails. This is 3-inch by 1/8 inch thick material. I just wanted to have some side rails around this thing, and also I just drilling some holes in there for to be able to strap it down with some tie downs. So there's several different holes in there. Again, just stitch welding, about 1 or 2 inch long beads every 6 or 8 inches apart. All right, we're getting really close right here. This is now this is the top part. This is the expanded metal that I'm using, and I thought that would be the best option in here. And once I got everything cut out, I just spot welded everything in place across the center braces and all the way around the outside, and that was plenty secure enough, and that worked out really well. So far, so good on my planning. Everything is just the way I like it. I wanted to have a door on the back of this thing in some way that was on a hinge. So this is what I came up with, a little piano hinge right here that folds up and folds down. It's clean looking application. Everything seems to be working really good. And I need to have an assembly to pin it in place and keep it closed while it's in use. So I just made these little round tabs right here, and you can see it warped just a little bit when I was welding that on. Got some heavy weights on there to help out. And I just tacked everything into position right here and got it to where I liked it. And I think this is going to work out pretty good. The idea is to put a pin through like that and hold it in position while it's in use. All right, now we're getting to what is the most difficult part, in my opinion. At least I thought it was, and that's the actual hitch assembly itself. This thing needs to be able to rotate 90 degrees, be in the up position during its non-use and the down position when it is in use. And so I followed a slight, I was able to find something online on one of these particular carts, and they had something very similar to this. And then I thought I could make something similar to what they had, and this is the way I did it. Again, trial and error. It seemed to work pretty good. It's got the Everlast Power Plasma 60S right here, making short order of this 1/4 inch thick plate. And once I got the 2 plates cut out, I just put them together and put some tack welds on there. So when I'm drilling the pinholes in here, I wanted to be exact in the exact position. So these pins need to go through and they just line up perfectly. So the mag drill, perfect deal for that. And then just cleaned up the edges from the plasma cutter. Once that was all done, I just cut the tack welds off, and the plates are apart, and just clean that up, and everything should be perfectly lined up. At least I'm hoping. So I'm just doing the assembly right here and trying to get an idea to be sure everything is going to work the way it should. So once I got this clamped in, I tacked things together, and again, this is all 1/4 plate right here. This is plenty thick, and I just wanted to be sure it works okay. So here it is. I got to pull the pins out. This thing slides up and goes in. Well, that's in the down position. Slide down, that would be in the up position. Seems to work just fine. I was a little bit worried when I went ahead and welded that all out, thinking that it would possibly warp during the welding process. So there's not much I could do about that. I just went for it and kept the pins in place while I was doing it. And after it was all over with, surprisingly enough, it didn't warp at all, and everything still works perfectly. So I was excited about that. And this is the actual tongue part of the receiver itself. I put this on, and again, I got to tell you, I don't have this on camera, but this was welded on, cut off at least 3 times before I got it absolutely right. And it was kind of frustrating, but it just had to be in a certain exact spot. And anyways, I ultimately got it, but worked out pretty good. These are just little stop blocks, if you will, and I don't know if I even showed what happens there, but you can see how the receiver how it's folded forward towards the carrier itself. Those little stop blocks go in there later on. That kind of keeps it at 90 degrees. Now, I was a little worried about the strength of this. There seemed to be a lot of weight on that tongue, so I wanted to make some braces. So I came up with these gussets, if you will, that are going to be supported by that section of the tongue there. That's going to really help with the weight. And these are just spacers. I need to space it out to the outside area. There's the gussets right there. Once I got those things clamped all in and welded all out, I was happy with that. I was certain that this is not going to go anywhere at that point. Maybe a little overkill. But you know what? It is what it is, and at least I don't have to worry about it coming apart or breaking. Here I ran out of wire. You know, it's always right in the middle of your project when something goes wrong. Well, we got that figured out, and there it is. I'm pretty happy with the way that works. Nice and smooth. I don't think there's going to be any issues with it, and that's all good. So here it is. This is how it looks right here. It is complete. The ramp comes out, and there it is. It's hooked on. You can see that. You may be able to see, but I did fix it. It is lower. It comes off of there, slides right in, and comes up and attaches itself nice and clean with those pins. That worked out really good. I'm really happy with the project is. Got some paint on it, and there it is. It is complete. Everything worked as good as I hoped it would. And it was overall a great project. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, subscribe for more videos.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.